अस्सलाम वालेकुम नाज़रीन, ये एक ख़ुसूसी एपिसोड आप देख रहे हैं। पाकिस्तान को अंदरूनी चैलेंजेस भी दरपेश हैं, इलाकाई सतह पर और आलमी सतह पर भी मसाइल हैं, लेकिन इसके बावजूद पाकिस्तान ने दुनिया के साथ अपने आप को इंगेज रखा हुआ है। पाकिस्तान की इंगेजमेंट जारी है। अर्जेंटीना का नाम हम सब जानते हैं कई हवालों से। लैटिन अमेरिका का एक बड़ा मुल्क है और आजकल तो वैसे भी कतर में फुटबॉल का वर्ल्ड कप है, मैसी हो रहा है। जी हाँ, मैसी का ताल्लुक भी अर्जेंटीना से है। अर्जेंटीना के डिप्टी वज़ीर ख़ारजा पाब्लो टेंतमानी पाकिस्तान के दौरे पर आए। यहाँ दो तरफ़ा सियासी मशावरत के लिए दफ्तर ख़ारजा में ख़ारजा सेक्रेटरी डॉक्टर असद मजीद ख़ान के साथ मुज़ाकरात हुए और आज हमारे रूबरू भी अर्जेंटीना के डिप्टी वज़ीर ख़ारजा एक्सेलेंसी पाब्लो टेंतमानी मौजूद हैं। एक्सेलेंसी, थैंक यू वेरी मच फॉर योर टाइम एंड वेरी वार्म वेलकम टू पाकिस्तान। How do you see the relationship between Pakistan and Argentina?
I think it is an important time in which countries such as Pakistan and Argentina must meet together, and we have to look at the international agenda because we have common values, we have same perception on many things, and we think that it's a challenging time in which countries such as ours have to be able to give a response to the challenges of the world. And that is why it is very important that although we have 70 years of bilateral relations, just last year we celebrated that we meet again and we reinforce this and have a roadmap for the future.
That's great to hear. And your consultations at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs with Foreign Secretary Dr. Asad Majid Khan were also very good. What I read about these, the outcome was cooperation, enhanced cooperation, a will for cooperation in very diverse areas like agriculture, for example, like pharma industry agriculture. How is the scope, especially scope of cooperation in the area of agriculture?
Well, we both are countries that produce agricultural products, so we consume agricultural products. But we are facing now both two challenges. On the one hand, we have the climate change, which of course is a challenge for everybody. On the other hand, everybody's talking about food security. But we all knew for many years now that population worldwide is growing and that the need for food is going to be growing as well. And the capabilities of both Pakistan and Argentina to exchange experiences and how we have faced different challenges is important. So it stems from cooperation. It goes to exchange of knowledge in issues such as modified seeds or food and mouth disease.
Seed.
Absolutely, all this is in the agenda. And of course, the creation of value chains between corporations in both countries so that we can both share not only knowledge but also markets.
Excellency, you very rightly pointed out and talked about climate change because Pakistan was hit by worst kind of rains and storms, you know, and around more than 33 million population got displaced or affected. So this area is of a particular interest for both the countries to cooperate.
Absolutely. I know that we're all aware that climate change was a reality, but maybe because of COVID, this is no longer disputed. Because previously there were some theories whether this is true or not, this is happening now or not. But we see many issues and many experiences in different countries, such as the one you mentioned, Pakistan, in which we try to see from our point of view how could we help with that situation. But we ourselves are going on through a different cycle. We're going through drought. So all of a sudden you find yourself that you are experiencing things you were used to, although not in that proportion, or unused to. And this is where the experience of different countries comes to play. And of course, we also share the idea that there is a common endeavor, but there are different responsibilities worldwide. And this is something we have to also have people capture in many countries in the world.
Excellency, you are very right, because Pakistan was hit by rain. Then Europe, the temperature rose up to 40 degrees centigrade, and I'm sorry to hear that there is a drought-like situation back in Argentina. How can Pakistan and Argentina further solidify their bilateral relations?
Well, we have worked, and I have a couple of other meetings subsequently, in trying to put what sometimes we can agree on a political level and eventually reach an agreement on memorandums of understanding into specifics. And so we must bring that agenda, which is something that we wish for, into something of a practical nature. And that means also bringing together business people, being the possibility of bringing together leaders of cities, of provinces, and so because there are different levels of cooperation that require different levels of attention. So the challenge now is to have not only a roadmap, but something that we start to put in. And we have learned through the COVID experience that now we also are more familiar with the possibilities of exchanges through video conferences that might have our technical people get in touch.
Bringing technology.
So it will be more dynamic. Of course, it does not replace person-to-person meetings, but it adds to that experience with the possibility of having more dynamic links.
Excellency, you talked about interactions, meetings. How about public to people contacts or exchanges? I don't know how much Pakistani community is there in Argentina, but how we can promote people-to-people contacts, because this is somehow a modern tool of diplomacy and interaction between the two countries anywhere.
Well, I think that whether we are aware or not, younger generations are in contact a lot more than what people who have a different age, such as myself, were used to. So there is a common culture, if one likes, of people who are under the age of 30. So they have a much better knowledge of what is going on here and there. What we can do to help that, of course, relies from the exchanges of experience in the culture field. I mentioned before that we celebrated 70 years of our bilateral relations. There was a lot of activities that was produced by embassy here and the Pakistani embassy in Buenos Aires, who brought again to the attention of the people possibilities of culture exchanges and so forth. But there are more specific things. We have something called the global agenda for universities, so we can put more accessible information to people who are looking for a place where they can further study in a postgraduate conditions, possibly here in Argentina or in Pakistan, and that will help people move to places where they think they can find what is interesting for their own lives. And this is going to bring people together yet more. And of course, culture is something that is very important.
Lot of even respect and acknowledgement of your people in Pakistan. Your previous ambassador here, who stayed here for 9-10 years, he was very popular, not only among the diplomats, but he was also very popular among the civil society here. Pakistan has a young population of 60% less than 30 years, such a huge potential. The interaction with your youth needs some kind of mechanism. What could be the mechanism for bringing people to people more together in universities or colleges or any other fields?
Well, I was mentioning before, this global camp that I mentioned before is a platform that is can be shared through internet. I think this is something that we have to use. Also in the cultural sphere, we believe that we have to be able to work together in order to put our own culture into the future platforms. Younger generations are getting their information from there, and we have to assure that future generations will not forget what we stand for, what our traditional culture is. So it's not only a possibility, it's something we have to do. And we talked about this as well in our meetings. Of course, sports is something that is always going to be there in the agenda. Argentina is known for its football. We just today handed over a sort of a roadmap to see if we can start working in exchange of training and how the possibilities and capabilities of training here and there on football. I think this is something that people like something very popular. So there's a lot of possibilities, but we have to work on them, and this is what we went through today.
Excellency, you're talking about football. In Karachi, the largest city of Pakistan, there is an area which is called Mini Brazil in Karachi, Mini Brazil of Pakistan. Even during this World Cup, whenever Brazil is playing its own pool match or quarter-final matches, Karachi is the people of Leari, that area. They are just mad about Brazilian football as they are own playing. I have to take a break. नाज़रीन ब्रेक लेते हैं. ब्रेक के बाद जब वापस आएंगे फुटबॉल की बात कर रहे हैं. फुटबॉल की बात हो, कतर के वर्ल्ड कप की बात हो, मेसी का नाम मैं इनसे ना लूँ, मेसी के बारे में ना पूछूँ, ये हो नहीं सकता. ब्रेक के बाद बात करते हैं. वेलकम बैक नादरीन. हम ये खसूसी एपिसोड आपके सामने पेश कर रहे हैं. अर्जेंटीना के डेप्टी वज़ीर ख़ारजा पाकिस्तान आए हुए हैं, हिज़ एक्सेलेंसी पाब्लो तेंतमानी, और उनके साथ हम ये खसूसी गुफ्तगू इसलिए भी कर रहे हैं कि अर्जेंटीना बहुत दूर एक मुल्क है लैटिन अमेरिका में, लेकिन अर्जेंटीना का नाम पाकिस्तान के लिए कोई नया नहीं है, एलियन नेम नहीं है अर्जेंटीना का. यू आल्सो हैव अ डाइवर्स कल्चर, rich history. Can you tell us a little bit about arts, culture, history of your great country for my viewers?
Well, thank you very much. That is, I think, a very important subject. I think that Argentina, between the end of the 19th century and the beginning of the 20th century, more than doubled its population just because of immigration from all over the world.
Okay.
So it was not people coming from one culture, as one like, but they all ended up in Argentina, and we mixed all of this into what today is called an Argentine, which is descendant of many cultures. And when you go to Argentina, you find that first, there's a big openness to all sorts of
welcoming.
And because everybody feels that it is a common thing, so it is a natural thing. And on the other hand, we have developed our own variety of this. So
assimilation of so many cultural backgrounds, absolutely. They have given rise to an Argentinian entity.
Absolutely. I think that when you talk about music, everybody knows about tango. And of course, you can make the history of where the tango comes from. And there's a lot of places where people believe it started over. But tango itself is from Argentina. And it is not only music, it is the way you share your feelings. There's a lot in the letter of the tango that expresses what I was talking about. The challenges of life and so forth. So the tango goes a little bit beyond the music itself. You have, of course, literature. Argentina has people who are really well known, of course, in the Spanish-speaking world.
Yeah.
We are translating many of these books into different languages. We hope that some of these will be translated in the Pakistanis as well. And so this will be even more known than it is currently. Argentine cinema is something that is also popular since the 40s. I remember many people from Latin American countries that grew watching Argentine movies or TV shows. The classics.
Yeah.
But even more modern. In music, of course, we incorporated into our own culture not only our folkloric music, which again comes from many parts of the world, but also into more modern kind of music, which has our own feeling with it. So you can go through all of this, and you will find an Argentine touch. So things that you might realize comes from somewhere else.
So people came from different parts of the world. Then why Spanish language is so, common in most of the Latin American countries, except one country which speaks Portuguese. if people coming from different backgrounds, different countries, carrying different lingua franca with them, how Spanish overpowered all other languages?
Well, of course, the most immediate reply to that is that many of the countries in America were colonized by Spain. Okay. And of course there is a lot of
legacy then,
it's a legacy from that era. And it also was a common language for many people who spoke other languages, because okay. It is less known, and I mean, it's becoming more and more known nowadays that there were people living there before the Europeans got there, and they had their own languages, and there are many of them.
Other than Europeans?
Other than Europeans, for example, in Paraguay, you don't only have Spanish as an official language, you have another language which is also spoken in Argentina, which is Guarani. Okay. And you can go on for many other languages, because the Incas were not mute people. They spoke their own language.
Exactly.
And you can go all through the civilizations that people know. But they are not the only languages that are there. And these are being taught, and people still speak them today. So when you got there, you will see that there's much more than Spanish as a language.
I'll ask specific question about football later, but how about the food over there, the other sports? Sometimes back you had a very good field hockey team. So other sports are also very popular over there?
Actually, in Argentina, there are many sports that are popular. Okay. I would say that some we might say that we excel, like in polo, which is, of course, worldwide known, but it is not unusual that our national team has 3 or 4 players who are at 10 handicap, which is quite uncommon in polo. Our national sport, strangely enough, is called duck pato, which is also a very traditional game. Okay. That was on horses as well.
It's also polo-like.
No, they actually pull on a ball, and they have to throw it through a little sphere, and that okay. That ball used to be a duck, and nowadays it wouldn't be possible. But originally that was why the name comes from.
They are riding the horses?
They are riding a horses like a polo horse.
Okay, and they are throwing the ball.
And they have to eventually pull it from the other team that can go and pull it side by side, and who eventually
so snatching the ball.
You snatch the ball.
Okay.
From the ground, because you throw it, you can give passes, okay, and you have to be able to
kind of
pick it up.
On the horseback.
On horseback. And of course, that will be the most strange one, if you like.
Yeah.
But of
course,
because
on the parallel in Afghanistan, you know, once I watched a match they called Buzkushi. They are having a goat, you know, slaughtered goat, and they are snatching from each other while sitting on the horseback, you know.
Well, I think that what happens is that people who would ride on horses had a sports that had to do with natural animals that they had around, and they pull around them, and they made a sport out of that. Yeah. But well, that's what each of us has done. But of course, we inherited from all these cultures other sports that are known, like hockey, as you mentioned. Yeah. We have, particularly our female hockey team is very well known. Okay. But you can, there's even cricket, which people don't know that it is played in Argentina.
Oh,
and
cricket is played.
Yes. I don't know if we will be able to match Pakistan's.
We honestly, you know, cricket is craze in this world, in this South Asia, every South Asian nation. For example, Afghanistan, Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, they have good cricket teams. Mm-hmm. But it's amazing to know that cricket is also played back in Argentina.
It is. It is. As I said before, people would go to Argentina from many parts of the world, and they will bring their culture, and their culture meant this. So many people in Argentina don't realize where these games come from, but they have it as a common thing. And our clubs naturally have a social aspect and also a sports aspect, which is quite common.
That's a great thing. It also explains how hospitable the people of Argentina are, that these different games from different parts of the world, they got assimilated and they have accepted it. About Messi, what do you think personally the prospects of football cup going on in Qatar?
Well, I can only think about one possibility, and that's that we will win. But
no compromise.
There's no compromise. There's no compromise there. But of course, I know that we will do our best, and I think the World Cup is a growing challenge because many teams in this World Cup have shown that they are able to challenge anybody.
Japan emerged, although they lost against Croatia, but they had a good team. South Korea lost,
absolutely.
But they played very well, you know.
No, and you cannot say before the matches has ended who is going to win, actually. So it's a more difficult bet. It's not a small club. It's more and more countries are playing
Germany being ousted, you know, in the qualifying round.
Absolutely.
It was
unthinkable. Unthinkable. And so, no, I think this gives more popularity to the game because one thing that has made Messi so popular, as Maradona was before, is that it gives the feeling to the children that they can also become what
Maradonas
they are.
And Messi.
Why not? If I have the skill, if I try my best, I can do that because it's something that they are excel, but it's a human thing.
Yeah.
So I can do that as well, and maybe I will become. Of course, it's a big challenge. It's not easy. Not everybody gets there, but I think that's what makes football so popular because anybody who can kick around something that is round enough, it doesn't have to be a ball. And of course, many of the balls we kick, we know that are made in Pakistan. So there you have a joint venture there.
In the Qatar World Cup, Pakistan-made football is
absolutely.
Maradona, my generation saw him playing. What a wonderful player. The new generation is watching Messi playing. So you hope this tradition will go on in excelling, you know, the sports of football.
I think it will go on. I always remember something that Maradona answered when they asked, and he said, stop trying to match Messi and Maradona. You have to look at Messi, he excels. Don't try to compare it with me because it's unfair. And I think it will happen again in the future, and we will keep remembering the players we saw. But I must say that as a child, I remember the names of important football players that were very well known way back then, and those were the heroes of my father or of my grandfather, and it will go on. It will go on.
And already Messi has many international medals, international records on his credit. Excellency, I have to take break. नाज़रीन, ब्रेक के बाद जब वापस आएंगे, पाकिस्तान और अर्जेंटीना बहुत दूर वाक़ हैं, लेकिन ग्लोबलाइजेशन प्रोसेस में अब तो दूरियां ख़त्म हो चुकी हैं. कैसे फर्दर रिलेशन को, ताल्लुकात को मज़ीद फ़रोग़ दे सकते हैं, ब्रेक के बाद बात करेंगे. वेलकम बैक नाज़रीन, ये ख़ुसूसी एपिसोड आप देख रहे हैं. हिज एक्सेलेंसी पाब्लो तेंतेमानी, डेप्टी फॉरेन मिनिस्टर ऑफ अर्जेंटीना, पाकिस्तान के दौरे पे आए और आज हमारे रूबरू हैं. एक्सेलेंसी, हाउ Pakistan and Argentina, they can enhance their perspective, their cooperation on international fora?
Well, we have, during the years, been able to join our voices in many spheres in which we have been able to push for our interests. In development, for example, we have shared the Group of 77 for many years.
Currently, Pakistan is chairing.
Which is where Pakistan is chairing now. But we have seen eye to eye in the need to have the whole humanity develop at the same time. And this requires that countries that have a bigger challenge are also looked into with their perspective and their capabilities. We talk about common challenges like climate change. Well, that is true, but again, there are different responsibilities worldwide, and we have to say this. There are different capabilities. Financing is an issue. We have to discuss about that. So we can look eye to eye on that. We also discussed, even in the meeting this morning in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, about the need to strengthen again multilateralism, the rule of law. These are things that countries such as Pakistan and Argentina will stand for. We have done it in the past. It seemed to be something that was simply repeating what everybody thought about, but now it has become more urgent than we recall that we have to defend that.
From unipolar to multilateral world again.
Absolutely, probably we are in a turning point in which some rules of the game will change. It is true that the United Nations and all the multilateral system that we know basically was created in way back in the Second World War.
Post-World War II.
We're talking about 51 members of the United Nations founding the United Nations. There's 193 members now, and there's not maybe the same room for everybody to more about. So we have to think about this again and see how we can have our own generation do what we have to do for the future.
Excellency, what are the possible avenues of cooperation between Argentina and Pakistan vis-a-vis this China's One Belt, One Road and Pakistan and China economic corridor that is the future of Pakistan rather?
No, I think that we don't have to look at it as a response to anything else. I think that the challenge is to find our own ways. And we have been discussing about that, the possibility of attracting Argentine investment in Pakistan or Pakistanis investment into Argentina. There are many spheres in which we both excel. We talked about things that we can do in science and technology.
Yeah.
We talked about possibilities in the health system.
Okay.
So there is a knowledge in both our countries.
So knowledge sharing, experience sharing.
Experience sharing. That brings investment as well and brings business and jobs. And so it's not simply people sitting around and exchanging ideas. So we have to take advantage of that. And that, of course, does not have to be contradictory with other countries doing their own or even cooperating with us in whatever it is. We believe in a country where we don't have to choose necessarily between one thing or the other. We can all survive.
So independent of any other factor,
Absolutely.
It's bilateralism. In the current world of today, economic cooperation, trade and capturing other markets, that's very important for consolidating relation. Economic or financial stakes, they bound the countries together. What are the prospects of enhancing bilateral economic cooperation and especially in the field of trade?
Well, again, when we talk about trade, I think that we have long ago left behind the idea that we can produce things on our own and sell it to somebody else. I think the value chains are important, and we have to build that. And that means partnerships and so we can talk about anything we want, but neither in Pakistan nor Argentina want to simply be the providers of natural resources. That time has gone by. We have our own capabilities of creating new values, including that into production and eventually making that a possibility. Not only country to country, we have Mercosur as well as a possibility in Latin America. We can work Mercosur with Pakistan. We have to work on that because the traditional trade multilateral discussions is a little slowed down. So we have to keep it up bilaterally and between regions.
In the same sense, if I especially ask about how can Pakistan provide more goods and services in the Argentinian markets, how it can be made possible?
Well, it can be. We have to discuss several things. Some of these things have to do with some barriers that might come up. Sanitary, phytosanitary, it means that we have to go quite technical and see exactly what it is that our markets are asking for, what are our rules and regulations, and how we can work that. This is something that we have been discussing today too, also. And as I said before, I think that whilst our business people get in touch and they can get into value chains, it makes it more easy because you're selling products to Argentina might not be necessarily the end destination of those products, but simply going through and going elsewhere. And the same goes for Argentina. Of course, Pakistan is a gateway for a big region, so it's a big market that is more than Pakistan.
So the two countries can even become hub for their external trade, you know, to your region or your products in our region.
We at least have to hope we can be Messi.
You know, having dream more
yes,
and more. Yes,
absolutely.
Excellency, my last question. You have visited Pakistan for the first time. Not much time that you spent here, but obviously you met some people, you have seen Islamabad a little. What are your views about Pakistan?
Well, I must say that, of course, it is the first time that I am in Islamabad, and but it's not the first time that I have, in my profession, dealt with Pakistanis delegations in many spheres, in the United Nations, bilaterally, and so forth. So I must say that I was not surprised to see how warm
it
welcome.
It did not come suddenly.
No. I was not surprised by the warm welcome that I received.
I see.
I was really very well surprised with the city, seeing the mountains, and but that's all I was able to see today. It's just one day. And what I know from this experience is that I have to come back.
Thank you, Excellency Pavlo Tettamanti, for being here and speaking to us. नादरीन, अर्जेंटीना ठीक है, बहुत दूर है, लेकिन अर्जेंटीना का नाम आते पाकिस्तानियों के अंदर या पाकिस्तान के ऑफिशियल नाम में कोई ऐसी फीलिंग नहीं आती जैसे रिपल्शन का एहसास होता हो। और ऊपर से मेसी जैसे लोग तो हाउस होल्ड नाम बन चुके हैं। उम्मीद है इनके दौरे पाकिस्तान से और जो मीटिंग्स यहाँ पर हुई और जिस तरह एक्सप्लेन कर रहे थे, इससे दोनों मुल्कों के ताल्लुकात में इजाफ़ा हो। पाकिस्तान की कम्युनिटी है हर जगह, पाकिस्तान के प्रोडक्ट्स भी जाते हैं, ट्रेड जितनी बढ़ेगी, माशी तामन जितना बढ़ेगा, उतनी गुडविल भी बढ़ेगी। अपने मेज़बान शौकत पराचा को इजाज़त दीजिए। खुदा हाफिज़।